What's good, y'all? Another video about a homie WrestleMania. This is shit I'm talking about right here. 10 backstage fights. I think I could name a couple of them already, but let's see.
10 wrestlers you won't believe had a legit fight. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell
It
for
gets,
daily
it
wrestling
gets,
videos or
hey,
follow us on Facebook
is
for
this a shoot,
exclusive
brother?
lists. Number 10, Scott Steiner and DDP. WCW was known for its turbulent atmosphere, particularly during the final few years of the promotion's existence. But what many fans don't know is that two of their top names had a backstage
Oh,
fight in the year 2000.
he
The
shoot
fight in
slapped
question
that
was
boy.
between Scott Steiner and Diamond Dallas Page, and in typical WCW fashion, the two proceeded to be booked into a program together shortly after they came to blows.
Oh,
The
shit.
story goes that DDP's wife Kimberly found a drug backstage and she reported it to WCW management. Kimberly alleged that Tammy Sitch, aka Sunny, was the one responsible, and Steiner was furious that Kimberly reported this to upper management.
Oh, damn, yeah,
Steiner
you
would
ain't
then
supposed to
cut a
tell
short
like
promo on
that.
Kimberly's husband
A
DDP on
locker room
Nitro,
leader and had
and when
wrestler
Steiner
support.
returned from the promo to the backstage area, a physical confrontation ensued. The two were eventually pulled apart by security, and according to DDP, both men were able to talk through their differences, and they competed in the main event program a few months later on good terms. Number 9, Chavo Guerrero and Big Show. A fight on
Oh,
paper between Chavo Guerrero and Big Show sounds completely mismatched and doesn't sound realistic. However, the two were forced to resort to violence backstage in 2004. According to Jim Ross on his podcast, Big Show used to constantly wind Guerrero up, and eventually this made Guerrero snap. If I had to rebuild this case, Your Honor, I would suggest that perhaps we would find a scenario where the Big Show had been busting Chavo's balls because he knew he could over a few days. It probably started out as a very light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek, satirical riff, and then it matriculated down the field into a shoot. And Chavo is a man's man. He's not going to back away even though he knows he's on the short end of the stick, no pun intended. So he stood up for his own honor and they did their thing and it was over quickly. Thank God nobody got hurt. Oh, number 8,
hell yeah.
JBL
Fuck
and
Big
Steve
Show.
Blackman. JBL had a certain reputation during his time as an active competitor for WWE, and during the Attitude Era,
You know what's weird about these dudes? The JBLs and like Taz and shit like that. It, it it's weird in wrestling because they're not shooters, but they're tough guys. But as soon as somebody, a shooter or somebody, bulks up to them, then they, they turtle shell. You know what I'm saying? They're tough guys until whatever, then they turtle shell. When Taz slapped or when RVD slapped the shit out of Taz, or JBL's been, and a couple times been, even when a person shows a little bit back. I guess when you just push a little bit back, then them niggas, I don't know, turtle shell, but then the shooters are shooters, you know what I'm saying? And when I say shooters, by the way, that means like a real tough guy, a real guy. A shooter is like an amateur wrestler slash tough guy slash whatever. If you just did anything outside of professional wrestling that has to do with combat sports.
JBL tried to pick on the wrong individual. A drunken JBL once tried to pick on Steve Blackman. Blackman wasn't a typical WWE star, he was one of the toughest, most legitimate pro wrestlers of all time, so naturally JBL got his just desserts. Hardcore Holly, who was traveling with Blackman at the time, recounted the story in his
Hardcore Holly's another
autobiography.
one like that
This was
too.
Holly's
An
account of the
asshole. He done
fight.
slapped
At
like 10
Kansas
people
City
already in
Airport,
wrestling.
Steve and I were waiting around when Bradshaw came over. It was an early morning flight and John was still drunk from the night before. He started patting Steve's ass. Steve said, "John, I don't play that shit, knock it off." John patted him again and again. Steve was getting brutally pissed. He told him, "John, next time you do that, I'm gonna knock your effing teeth out." So of course John did it again. Steve whipped around and backhanded Bradshaw, popping him with jabs in the face. Holly continued by saying, John started swinging and missing and his head was snapping back with each of Steve's jabs. Steve stepped back, planning to kick Bradshaw's knees out, but he got his leg caught in a bag handle. Al Snow and I grabbed Steve, Ron Simmons grabbed John, and we pulled him apart. John was walking back and forth like a bandy rooster, looking to fight. Before we left, Steve told him, "I'm gonna effing kill you." He meant it too.
Oh shit.
Moral of the story,
Steve
don't
Blackman
ever F
wasn't
with
fuck
Steve
around.
Blackman. Number 7, Vader and Paul
Nice.
Orndorff.
Oh,
In
this is
1995,
infamous. This is
a fight
infamous.
broke out backstage in WCW that was so severe it led to one of the participants being let go from the company.
Yeah.
According to numerous names from WCW at the time, Vader was often grumpy and hard to deal with, and backstage at a show, Orndorff requested that Vader deliver his promo material so things could get moving. When Vader refused to listen, it was claimed by Jim Cornette that Orndorff made a comment regarding Vader's weight, and then the two came to blows with Orndorff getting the better of the situation. Although the consensus is that Vader was fired after the incident, Vader claimed that WCW wanted to cut his pay, so he opted to leave and sign with WWE. Number 6, Kevin Nash and Roddy Piper. On most occasions, physical
I'm not a big
escalation
fan
can
of
be
Kevin
avoided
Nash.
if the wrestlers involved just sit and talk things through. However, in 1997 backstage at WCW, Kevin Nash and Roddy Piper had other ideas. A 6-man tag match was set for 97 Slamboree pay-per-view in Charlotte, North Carolina, pitting the NWO's Wolfpack members Kevin Nash, Scott Hall and Sean Waltman against Ric Flair, Roddy Piper and NFL star Kevin Green. This is where the problems between Nash and Piper surfaced, as the two disagreed on the planned finish to the match. It also didn't help that both aforementioned names had creative control clauses embedded into their contracts, so something had to budge.
WCW were idiots.
Whilst Piper's team eventually got the win, Nash claimed that Piper didn't stick to the plan, and this is where the backstage fight surfaced from. According to Piper, he was in the dressing room when Nash kicked the door open. Piper hit Nash with a takedown, and then the two were separated. Nash's account is different, as he claims that he attacked Piper when he jumped out of his seat. Nash then said that he knew that Piper was going to come at him.
Nash would always make it seem like he was either the come out on victor or the
Arn Anderson is one of the most respected pro wrestlers of all time. When Disco Inferno disrespected him in WCW, Inferno found out the hard way as to why Anderson.
And Disco talks about this all the time. Slap the piss out of his bitch.
According to Anderson on his podcast, Inferno had been causing trouble throughout a trip.
He's a weasel. Disco Inferno's a weasel.
Inferno antagonized him, and
he's a weasel to this day.
Inferno receiving a slap. So we get our bags, we go into the rental car bus, now it's a smaller area, close proximity. He starts again. He's goofing on him, but I could see he ain't getting over. He's now getting red in the face. I just leaned in and looked at him and said, cut the bullshit out. We're all tired as F, and we're not gonna get any sleep. Oh, what are you gonna do, beat me up horseman style, was his reaction. So I slapped the shit out of him and said, no, that's Marty Lawn style. So I cupped him pretty good, and he got a blank look on his face, and that's the real story. He shut up. Number 4, William Regal and Sid. William Regal is an incredibly tough individual, and when Sid tried to grab him by the throat in the hotel room, Regal quickly countered and put him in a painful submission. Regal gave his account of the story on his podcast, and the wrestling legend stated, I have no idea what possessed him to do this. Sid has grabbed me around the throat from behind and has gone, I've got him now. Well, that didn't last long because he's got his big daft head in there with all his curly hair. So I just grabbed his hair, I've dragged him over the top of me, and I've stuck him in a Grovid on the floor. In terms of Sid's motives for attacking Regal, he knows. It's possible that Sid was playing around, yet things quickly got out of control. Number 3, Andrade and Sammy Guevara. One of the stories that dominated wrestling headlines in 2022 was the AEW backstage fight between Andrade and Sammy Guevara. The two were feuding on social media, and fans assumed that this was strictly kayfabe. However, the next time the two were on TV, they came to blows. Dave Meltzer reported via the Wrestling Observer that Andrade was trying to get fired. Andrade is trying to get fired. There's a few people, and it's not too many. It's like
and now he's in WWE,
and Andrade
biggest company on the planet.
Tuesday night, they were talked to, both of them, and they were told no fighting. Andrade was told that you're not going to get fired if you fight, but you will be sent home. And Andrade said, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. There's going to be no fighting. Sammy said the same thing. Nothing's going to happen. They had security there. Everybody was warned ahead of time. This wasn't the first time that Guevara had been involved in backstage physicality, as just a few months prior he was reportedly slapped around the face by Eddie Kingston. Number 2, Big Show and the Great Khali. When it was reported online that the Big Show and the Great Khali had a backstage altercation, fans collectively wondered if it was April Fool's Day. The idea of these two larger-than-life men having a fight is unfathomable, but it legitimately happened. Apparently, the issue started when Khali used one of the Big Show's trademark moves at a live event. When Big Show confronted Khali about this in the locker room, the two exchanged punches. Witness accounts say Big Show tripped over a chair and Khali got on top of the former WWE champion. This would be the end of the issues between the two, as the violence seemed to magically squash their beef. And number 1, Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle.
This is right before he died. Kurt was a piece of shit, man. Perks, he was on the Perks.
Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero. The two were perfect match inside.
He wants to seem like they're cool in all these interviews, nigga. Nah, when you died, they had beef, and that's just what it is. Same thing with Owen Hart and Stone Cold, you know.
The problems between the two escalated when Guerrero.
He swears up and down they made up before he died, the day before he died, and shit like that. Y'all niggas had heat, bro. It is what it is.
We're getting heat on Eddie. It was Luther Reigns, Mark Jindrak, and myself. I didn't touch Eddie, so I couldn't have been the one that stiffed him. After the show, we all waited in Gorilla and shaked each other's hands. I went to shake his hand and say, thank you, Eddie. He goes, no. What you did out there was wrong. You were stiffing me. I said, Eddie, I didn't touch you. He said, bullshit. You were stiffing me. You were beating me up. I pushed him. He double legs me, an amateur wrestling double leg. I get him down and got him in a front headlock, and I started choking him out. Thankfully, the two legends were able to resolve things by the next time they worked together, and these days, Angle is never one to shy away from sharing his love and admiration for Guerrero as both a wrestler and a human being. But there you have it, folks. 10 wrestlers you won't believe had a
I don't believe that they made up. But if they said they made up, he made it up. But Kurt Angle, I don't know. Perks Kurt was evil. He was on some crazy shit. But another great video. And wait, he didn't say Booker T and Batista. Why would he have the picture of them and didn't talk about them? Am I tripping? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but I got short-term memory loss. But anyways, another great video, y'all. Check out that boy. Give me a subscribe. Give me a subscribe. Peace.